Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I wanna be loved by you, just you, nobody else but you. I wanna be loved by you, whoa, whoa, boop, boop, be doo, ooh.
And I'm Gary, and today we're going to review and discuss House of a Thousand Corpses, which released in 2003 from writer-director Rob Zombie. Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows a group of teenagers driving across America looking for the most scariest convenience stores at the sides of the road. They come across Captain Spalding's gas station and they are given directions to head to the Hanging Tree, where they might be able to find Dr. Satan. But instead they come across the Firefly family and they are invited nor dragged down into the basement of the House of a Thousand Corpses.
That was so badass! Dr. Satan! Ah, Dr. Satan!
So this was a film that was shot in the year 2000.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't released until 3 years later.
Oh.
Well, Rob Zombie was working at Universal, decorating and building a haunted house attraction. Mm-hmm. And that was where he kind of conceived the idea for the House of a Thousand Corpses. And so he got to make the film on Universal Studios' backlot.
Nice.
And, Rob Zombie, it's his film debut as well. Mostly knew him at the time just for his music, from White Zombie to Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
And when the film was done, Universal looked at it and went, we ain't releasing that because it's definitely going to get like an X rating or an 18 rating, and it's just like we don't want to really touch that. And then I think it went to MGM, and MGM passed on it, and then Lionsgate eventually got it and went, we'll take it, but we're going to edit the F out of this. And so, the film, according to Rob Zombie, the original film was about 2 hours long. Or even 2 hours and 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
But so there's also been this rumor. Well, actually, there was I think it was in Argentina, the director's cut version of the film was played just the once. And apparently that version did leak online at some point, but was then subsequently replaced with a screener version.
Yeah.
And now all traceable copies of that director's cut has been lost. Even Rob Zombie himself has said, it's like, I don't have it. Like, if nobody I know has it, there's no way we're going to be able to release a director's cut, even if we wanted to. And Rob Zombie's also kind of said, this film is just all the flaws. He said he can barely look at the film.
Really?
All he sees is flaw after flaw after flaw. And but that was his learning experience. And he was, Universal were on his back every so often, but he literally just went, okay, and then went and did his own thing anyway. He literally had carte blanche to do what he wanted, and he shot the film over the course of a year, including weekends, in his own house with his own 16mm camera, got the actors over and went, I'm going to shoot a bunch of random stuff and we'll just splice it into the film.
Nice.
And I remember when, 2003, when this film came out, managed to watch it, a big fan of Rob Zombie. And so it's just like, this was great. This was just like an extended Rob Zombie music video.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like you said, back in 2003 when this movie dropped, it was kind of like a breath of fresh air, I felt, into the horror genre. I'd been following it for years, ever since I was younger, and you just wanted it to keep being pushed. The envelope would be pushed. I wanted to see more gore, and I wanted to see more this and that and violence, loving Evil Dead and all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden somebody says, hey, Iain, Rob Zombie made a movie. And I'm like, what? The guy from the Dracula video, obviously they've used his music a lot of times in films. I remember the beginning of Bride of Chucky.
Yeah, Dracula.
Having Living Dead Girl.
Yeah.
So I was like, this guy kind of, I don't know, always had the door open for him to go into that, but he needed his own idea. And then, like you said, the House of a Thousand Corpses comes alive from working on Universal. And then, funnily enough, it not being released for 3 years, this film does have a, late 1999, 2000 feel about it.
Well, it's kind of got, the film is set, I think, in 1977.
Yes,
And it actually has a kind of grindhouse, schlocky, sleazy
it does.
Look to it as well. So I'm like, you know what? Like, that wasn't an accident. Like, that was something that Rob Zombie was aware of. And he was like, even when it came to doing special effects in the film, he was like, well, we don't really have much of a budget, which is fine because we need to do this cheap. So it actually feels like 1970s cheap horror.
Yeah, and it totally works. And the idea as well, like, I'm going, I'm going in to watch a Rob Zombie movie. If I know anything about Rob Zombie, I know it's not going to be long talking pieces. It's not going to be beautiful idyllic sunsets and loving people riding horses. No! This is going to be blood and gore and offensive stuff. And if you're not into... If there's a part of you that goes, I'm not into Rob Zombie, just turn away now, because there's nothing in this film that's going to... Maybe Sherry Moon Zombie. You know, she's baby.
Give me a B. Give me an A. Give me a B. Give me a Y. What's that spell? What's that spell? What's that spell?
But, man, this opening sequence, just getting to Captain Spalding, you know, seeing... I forgot about the intro, actually, with the
store robbery.
Well, no, the TV hosts.
Oh, right, yes,
You know, kind of lulling you in that what you're watching is on late night horror, because that's what we all did. We all watched horror at like midnight on channel whatever. And here's the host telling us about this film that's coming, but we get the advert for Captain Spalding's gas station, his convenience store, whatever.
Chicken and gasoline.
Chicken and gasoline. And like Gary just said, it leads to a robbery where we see Captain Spalding, Sid Haig, stood there in his clown makeup. And he stood there with Michael J. Pollard, who plays Stucky. Who,
awesome.
Yeah, I remember mainly as the angel guy from Scrooged.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, apparently, according to Rob Zombie, Pollard was... he liked to improvise his lines.
Right,
he had a rough outline of the sketch, but Rob Zombie said if you watch, Sid Haig is trying to stifle his laughter because he has no idea what's going to come out of Pollard's mouth next.
Yes.
And he talks about the Planet of the Apes figurine, Dr. Zeus getting shoved up some guy's asshole.
Ass, yeah. Yeah, watching this again, I've seen this film like 3 or 4 times. Watching this interaction, it's so great because, like you said, Sid Haig is just trying to bounce off the other guy. They don't know what they're going to be talking about. So I have the idea that they've been filming this maybe 3 or 4 times. They're trying different things. And so when he's talking about this Dr. Zeus being shoved up this guy's asshole and Sid Haig just starts laughing, I just love his face.
Although once he got caught, with a Planet of the Apes style stuck up his asshole.
God damn!
He just kind of lulls me in now. I'm just going to have a really good time. And then, these 2 robbers come walking in. And it's just the most stupid, Caddyshack kind of bumbling robbery you'll ever see.
Yeah, Pollard's like, wait a minute, no, you don't. You work at the hardware store. And he takes his mask off. And he's just like, no, don't tell anyone.
Little Dick Ricky.
But I didn't actually notice this until this rewatch. But when Captain Spaulding puts his hands up, did you notice his hand gestures?
Yes.
He's gripping the bird both sides. I was like, that's great.
Yeah. I mean, Sid Haig just adds so much to the character that he just comes... Captain Spaulding just literally comes alive. You just fall in love with him.
You already feel like he's a bit of an asshole, a bit of a jerk, but he's kind of a likable ass, right?
But it's a horror movie, so you're like, oh, if I hate this guy, maybe he's going to end up dead.
Right.
And while we see these 2 robbers come in, and it's just a bumbling bunch of accidents happening, then this crazy mass welding guy comes in with a giant hatchet, nails one of the guy. The other guy gets shot by Captain Spaulding, and he delivers. Like I don't really want to. I want to repeat what he says. I really do.
F your mama.
F your sister. F your grandma. And most of all,
Fuck you!
Well, I mean, to be fair, this video is definitely getting demonetized.
Totally.
Fuck it.
But see it, that intro just hits right into Rob Zombie's music straight off the bat.
Title sequence, random imagery, newspaper clippings, missing persons. It's a bit of a trip because it's multicolored as well, and I like Rob Zombie's music here as well. So it really fits, and it does get you in the mood for then what's going to follow.
Yeah, and the intro as well also pays homage back to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So immediately as I'm walking into this film, I'm like, that's what I'm getting. I'm hopefully a bunch of teens end up going to a house and getting messed up by something. I don't know what, but you're calling it the House of a Thousand Corpses, so something's going to kill them.
Well, we do get introduced to our 4, I guess, teens. We call them teens, but they're not teens. They're like 30. So I'm like, group of friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're on a road trip across America. I think they're actually heading to one of the girlfriend's father's house.
Yes.
To get back for Halloween, which is the following day. But whilst they're traveling, they are going to roadside attractions. That
yeah.
are off the beaten path and writing a book about it. And so they see this bizarre, gasoline and chicken along with the petrol station, along with this, murder tour and all of these weird displays of death. And they're like, we've got to go in there. We've got to go on the ride. We've got to explore this. And I love Rainn Wilson. Like I'd never seen him in anything before this. I didn't even know. Obviously, wasn't aware of him at the time the film was out. I was
totally.
like, he was fine, but I've really come to love him as an actor now.
Fuck, yeah.
And so it's kind of weird seeing him going all the way back now to see him here, like 20 years ago. And it's like, and it's almost like he's flirting with Sid Haig, One's talking about westerns, he's talking about sci-fi, he likes to pew pew.
I love that interaction because Sid Haig has got such a plethora of acting credits behind his name. He has acted in so many movies, so many TV shows, the original Batman TV series, Star Trek, and then he's got Rainn Wilson in front of him, who at this stage, 2003, has probably been trying to break into acting, but he hasn't gotten to, was it Dwight Schultz from The Office?
Yeah.
He hasn't become super as he will. So them two interacting, Sid Haig controls that sequence.
Yeah.
And he controls it so well, the way he starts talking down, oh, you think we're all bumbling hips?
You think we're real funny, like. The script is really good, but Sid Haig makes it even better. And of course the music getting tense and tense and tense and tense. He calls him, you asshole. I gotcha. It's just like, it was great moment. But then the murder tour begins.
And the thing is, as well, with them jumping on the murder tour, the three other characters, Mary, Denise, and Jerry, they fill up this group of friends. But if you've got the experience behind horror movies, you're wanting these guys to die, but you're also kind of getting behind their characters as well. One's the boyfriend or girlfriend of Jerry, and one's of Rainn Wilson's character. So there's these connections that when bad things happen, you'll feel kind of empathic, kind of a little bit upset for them. I like the way that even Rob Zombie, in his first tryout for a movie, was able to write a script and give it to some unknown actors who were able to feed me more character filler than, say, I don't know, The Collector, maybe? But let's not go there. They get onto the murder tour, and Captain Spalding, Sid Haig, he's just hosting this tour. He's talking about all these different killers. I'm pretty sure it must be just like a haunted house attraction that they've just fitted to the side
it's Rob
of
Zombie's specialty at this point.
Yeah, but you've got these mannequins kind of slicing things up, and there's a guy who nails into his genitals. It's like...
No, he likes getting spanked with a nailed paddle.
That's right. Yeah, sorry, my bad.
yeah. And also, I can't remember which one it was now, but Bill Moseley actually plays one of them because it cuts to stock footage, doesn't it? It looks like stock footage, but Rob was like, we couldn't afford to pay for the real Ed Gein tapes.
Oh, yeah.
So we just filmed our own. Yeah. I got Bill Moseley over, we just kind of dressed him up, shot him, and then he goes. He also has another cameo later in the film, around the 17-minute mark, as a news presenter
I was
reading a report about the missing cheerleaders. I'm like, that's weird because
Bill Moseley.
Yeah.
Man, I did think when I saw the Ed Gein moment, I thought to myself, you know what? Rob Zombie should do an Ed Gein biography. That would be a pretty badass film.
I don't know, to be honest, I don't really want to see anything Rob Zombie does these days. Sorry, Rob.
Yeah, true. 31, Halloween 2, Lords of Salem. But anyway, we are introduced to Dr. Satan by Sid Haig's character. And Dr. Satan is a local legend about some maniacal doctor who went on some crazy experimentations on certain people. And the local population or the people at the asylum found out about him, and they
hung him.
They hung him from the tree.
His body disappeared the day later.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable and it's farcical, but at the same time, you're watching a movie called House of a Thousand Corpses. They're going to meet Dr. Satan at some point. He's he's going to be experimenting on them. But the way Jerry comes out, and he's so happy, he wants to go see the tree. He asks Captain Spalding for directions, and in a weird bit of script, Captain Spalding doesn't want to give him the directions because it's not really much of a big legend, but he still draws him a bit of a map and sends him on his way. And then the rain comes down and the storm comes in. So like what? This is an hour and a half movie.
Yeah.
I'm getting to the 30-minute mark. I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah.
You know, the pace is going well.
Characters are established well. We've had some random, we've had some weird, and we've had some good music.
Yeah.
And now we got Sherry Moon Zombie on the side of the road. And they pick her up. They're like, well, I mean, we can't leave her out here in this rain.
No. I got to admit, Sherry Moon Zombie was so much better when she didn't think she could act. You know?
I mean, she still doesn't. She said she's not an actress, and that's why she's not appeared in any other films except those that have been directed by Rob Zombie. Because she said, I feel comfortable acting when Rob is directing, and I don't want to be an actress, and I don't want to go and do other projects unless Rob wants me in there. So
I just think the more lead characters that she was given, it was harder for her stories. Like we said, Lords of Salem, I've not seen, but I don't hear great things. She was great in Halloween, but she wasn't so great in Halloween 2 with the horse.
Well, I mean, she was fine. It was the story and the whole idea of it, which was...
But at least with this, it's it's broken down really great. We know they've just picked up this hitchhiker. She's way too good looking to be out in the middle of this fucking shithole of America. You know, she's got to be a psychopath, right?
There is no wrong. If someone needs to be killed, you kill him. That's the way.
You know, and she just plays that character really well with the annoying laugh, the over kind of flirtatious actions that she has with Rainn Wilson and Jerry, especially to piss off Mary and Denise.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're supposed to want the girlfriends to survive, the last girl kind of syndrome. But as they're driving along, her brother, I don't know if it's a real brother or not, you know, but this guy shoots their tire out with a shotgun, forces the car off the road, which forces the guys to go to the house. And Rainn Wilson first goes to the house and meets Karen Black playing Mama Firefly. Classic.
Yeah, well, I mean, at first he gets jump scared, doesn't he? Where he's waiting outside with all the creepy dolls on the wall, and then he's sat on the sofa, and I mean, Sherry Moon is literally just toying with him, taking off his glasses. She's wearing skimpy clothing. She's like, "That's now the only thing that tastes good in this house." Licking her finger. It's like, oh. But you could, I think they both did really well. Rainn Wilson just selling that uncomfortability. He's like, no, I need my glasses, I can't see.
Yeah.
And he's just waiting to get out of there. But then, then Mama turns up, and the others have got towed there. Another jump scare when they're all sat in the car.
Yes.
As they see him right in front, as he then tows them back. And and then we get all of them kind of sat in the house, and Mama Firefly's just like, he'll probably be back in about 2 hours. I'm like, well, to be fair, it's pissing down with rain.
Yeah.
It's Halloween Eve.
Yeah.
And I don't know where the nearest station is that they're going to go get a tire anyway. So I'm like, 2 hours, it's probably not too bad.
But that's it as well, where you get Mary and Denise, who are just getting more annoyed with the actions of Baby and the fact they're stuck out here and they didn't want to be here in the first place. The boyfriend's made them. You kind of empathize with them that they shouldn't be there, but then at the same time you start hating the teens, where you're like, when's the killing gonna start?
Well, it's dinner time now.
Oh man, I love the fact that all the way along we've been having these montages, kind of little tidbits of information being fed to us. Like you said, Bill Moseley, as the news reporter, reports that there's a bunch of cheerleaders missing. You know, we get a couple of first glances of Otis up in the room, you know, just screaming at these girls that he's trying to torture because they're just
his weird
freezing his
philosophies
brain
and stuff.
Oh yeah, he's Bill Moseley.
It only makes sense to Otis.
He is so much better in this than he was in Boar. I will die on that goddamn hill. You know, I was watching Otis in this, I was like, why did you do Boar, man? Why?
Hope you like what you see!
Steady paycheck, I suppose.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, this is the most alive I've seen him in any role ever. It's standout. And of course, he's wearing the wig with the white hair.
I don't know,
so
TCM 2 is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's true, yeah. But he shines in these types of roles.
He does, yeah.
And it's so weird then when you think that was the news reporter guy we just saw for 5 seconds earlier. I'm like, that's not the same actor, really? But he's so good. He's so alive and on fire. And again, just elevating that script, really. Because I honestly thought that the acting all the way up to this point has been hammy, amateur, and kind of like ropey.
That's what it was.
But Sid Haig,
Yeah.
Bill Moseley, and Sherry Moon Zombie, for whatever reason, even though I think the acting, it varies, they are so in their role.
Yes.
They have developed their characters with Rob, with themselves and everything, that even though it might come across as amateur or the filmmaking might come across as amateur, it's believable in a real kind of way. And I don't know if
Yeah.
it's because the film's already hooked you at this point, so you're in. But I kind of forgave all of the bad acting because they are so much their characters.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. You know, I just feel right from the start, I've already been hooked in by the film. I was hooked in before I even put the DVD in. You know, it's House of a Thousand Corpses, Rob Zombie. So you could ham it up and you could make it as stupid or whatnot. I'm here for the deaths. You know, we've had a couple at the start and we're building up to it. We've got Matthew McGorry playing Tiny, who comes in. You know, he's a guy suffering with gigantism and stuff like that, and he doesn't say anything. It's great, you know. Mama Firefly, Karen Black, she gives the whole backstory about what happened to Tiny, and I think it's mostly prosthetics that are on him to show the burns and stuff like that, and then he's
wearing a mask as well.
But oh my god, like, him just walking in the room and sitting down and then her telling him he's got to go wake up Grandpa, and he gets up again and walks to go wake up Grandpa. He just makes that whole situation so uncomfortable, so like unbelievable that you'd even
because
be
he
there.
is quite monstrous in stature, and because we're already uncomfortable, kind of sat at this table in silence, he leaves an impression, and we're kind of worried that she kind of has to write the sign for him. And I was like, I mean, and then she's like, oh yeah, you can't hear, so I just got to write it for him. I was like, well, okay. But interesting as well, it was the actor who plays Tiny, it was his 25th birthday on the day of shooting that as well.
Nice, yeah.
So when they are all sat there eating dinner, they're actually eating his birthday cake.
Oh, nice.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah. But then they go and wake up Grandpa Hugo and they bring him down, and then you get Otis at the table as well, and Otis just starts to fly off on one at them. And you just want to get the teens out of there, but Mama starts talking about how it's Halloween Eve and they've got a whole night to perform, and we've just had Baby in her bedroom getting ready, haven't we?
Yeah.
And so then we get this kind of sideshow kind of performance.
It's
where
showtime!
Yeah, Grandpa Hugo just is telling offensive jokes and is being overly way too loud, and I love it. You know? And then we're introduced to Baby coming out and doing her dance.
I wanna be loved by you, just you, nobody else but you.
And you don't want to be enraptured. It's like, a spider calling in the fly, isn't
Right.
it?
Ray Wilson's
You know,
just like, mama.
That's it. You just load in. How is this beautiful woman in the middle of this house doing all this kind of stuff? But I think it's Mary. She confronts Baby. And
Because Baby sat on his lap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baby pulls out a knife and she threatens to kill Mary. So then all of a sudden the car's done, isn't it? You know, the tire's been fixed so the teens can all leave. And so you're like, oh man, that's the movie over, isn't it? Oh, they're just going to go home now. Everything's going to be fine.
No, the gate's locked.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to get out there and open it. Oh no, those scarecrows are not just scarecrows. There's real people in there. It's like, now, why go through all of that elaborate setup of going, hey, we've got your car, we've towed your car, we fixed your car, have a party, now go, so we can catch you and bring you back again anyway.
Fear.
Fear.
Yeah. Got to smell it. It's Otis, mate. It's Otis.
Why am I trying to rationalize this thinking?
Yeah, like, Otis could have killed any of them at that table if we wanted to, but no, he wanted to go and hang himself on a scarecrow and prepare himself in the rain because he likes it.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I don't know what they're hitting them with, but he smacks him across the skull and he's down, then the other guy gets thrown against the car and smacked and he's down, and then the girls are panicking, locking themselves in the car, but it's over. It's already over. They are in the clutches of the Firefly family now, and it's going to get gruesome and nasty from here on out.
And we also hear about Don Willis, who is Mary's dad, played by Harrison Richard Young, who is a old Saving Private Ryan?
Yeah, old war vet. A retired police officer now.
Yeah. And he happens to call Sheriff Frank Houston, played by William Bassett, who I wikied and found out had been the voice of Jim Houseman from the Metal Gear Solid game. It's like, did Rob Zombie... Like, I love the fact that Rob Zombie picked all these people up, you know, and they've just got a plethora of just experience behind them, but he's like, can you do House of a Thousand Corpses? But Don Willis speaks to the sheriff and says, look, my daughter was supposed to be back last night. She didn't come home. The last I heard from her, she was at this Captain Spalding's place. And the sheriff's like, oh, yeah, I know about that place. I'm going to send out my 2 deputies. Walton Goggins and Tom Towles.
Awesome.
I'm like, oh my god. I mean, obviously Walton Goggins at this point, he hadn't done Predators, or I think he would be doing Predators well, no, Predators was 2007, sorry.
Yeah.
But he'd be going on to, obviously, Django Unchained.
Yeah.
Going on to Hateful Eight, Justified. You know, he's recently turned into a ghoul.
Exactly, yeah. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it was because I've just finished watching Fallout, going back and seeing this, I was like, I didn't even know you were in this. But you happen to be in my favourite scene of this movie.
Yes.
So part of me has always remembered your face, but never made the distinct connection until rewatching it and going,
Yeah.
he's so good in this.
And
I mean, he feels very fresh-faced. His character does, and the actor does, and because he's got some very intimidating and powerful actors beside him as well. But again, it's great casting.
Like I said, I love the back and forth between him and Tom Towles. Now, Tom Towles, like, he's from the remake Night of the Living Dead, which is... It shocks me every time I remember that, because I'm like, it's just a mustache missing, but it's like two different guys. But I always remember him from Fortress, with Christopher Lambert. I'm like, oh, that's that guy. But their interactions, you know, they've walked into Spalding's, they're questioning him about the girls missing, and in a weird twist, like, you kind of feel like Sid Haig is connected to the family, but the film doesn't make it blatantly obvious that he is. You know, the family's over here doing all their stuff. Captain Spalding's still running his shop.
Right.
And the sheriff's is just like, look at this photo. Tell us what you know about the kids. Oh, yeah, I remember them. I drew them a map. I sent them up to old Dr. Satan's, you know, tree. And so the cops are like, oh, yeah, well, we'll go pick up Saving Private Ryan, Don Willis. And we're going to drive out and we're going to search the local houses. While that's going on, you've got, Mary... She's waking up and she's wanting to know what happened to her boyfriend, Rainn Wilson.
Yeah.
Who's become Fish Boy.
That is quite I'm like, is that his rib cage? Like, it looks... I mean, it's a very good effect.
Yeah. Is that actually Rainn Wilson, or is that a mannequin Rainn Wilson that they slapped on there?
I know, because a lot of the other actresses or actors that played corpses were really the actors.
Right.
Couldn't afford mannequins or
Right,
anything.
that's what I'm
But yeah, I
thinking.
think that one's a full prop. I can't imagine.
Well, that's it. But you've also got you've got Denise, who's being held in the basement by Tiny. And I love this little interaction because, you know, Tiny comes down and he's eating his breakfast, like kind of like a monster, just slurping it all over the place. And she just asks him really nicely if he can let her go, and he does.
I thought he was deaf.
Yeah, that's it.
What happened there?
Lip reading.
Oh.
Maybe red lips. I don't. Mate, I'm grabbing straws here. But she kind of gets up, and as she goes to escape, you know, Otis is there, and he grabs her and he pulls her back down, and he ties her up, and he looks over at Tiny, and Tiny just goes, huh?
Right.
And then Baby's got hold of Jerry, and
She's torturing him, asking him ridiculous questions that you might not know the answer to, and
Yeah.
ends up scalping him.
You know, and it just, yeah, like the Firefly family are just
They're going to town on these friends now.
It was one thing that really shocked me about this film, because a lot of the times with horror movies you're expecting the teens to kind of escape, you know, to get the upper hand, to fight back, and you kind of want them to as well. But House, you know, really started to cement the idea home that, like, nobody escapes, and especially when the cops turn up, because this sequence,
They call the sheriff at the door with Mama Firefly, and he eventually gets to come in and sit down, and she's just flirting with him, but she's giving him that side eye, like, I'm watching you. And then, Walter Goggins and the dad are going around the back. They see all the shoes and all the clothes, but the penny doesn't drop yet.
Yeah.
You know, they end up opening up the barn doors, don't they?
Yeah.
And there's like 6 corpses in there. And at this point, the music has already kicked in. I Remember You.
Yes.
And so it's just the music, and Mama Firefly gets the gun, blasts the sheriff. The other 2 go running. We see Dad get shot twice. Down he goes into the puddle.
Yeah.
And Walton Goggins is just there. He's got his radio and his gun, and he just drops them and surrenders. And he's at the mercy of Otis.
the whole time the music is playing, it's just quiet, other than the music just playing over everything.
But then the song ends during that moment where he's still pinned down by Otis, and the camera stays there, like, just, you know, panning backwards and backwards and backwards for like 30 seconds before the gunshot goes off.
Yeah.
That's great.
I've always thought every time I watch this movie that camera lingers way too long before the shot.
Yeah.
But then the shot goes off and I go, oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I hate it lingering so long, but then the shot goes off and the music's ended and I'm like, man, that's
the studio kept going, cut it. You cannot leave nearly half a minute of just nothing. And Rob Zombie's like, nah, it's staying.
Yeah.
and it's so effective. It's my favorite scene in the film. I think it's so good.
It's
the whole
absolutely
musical piece, and I love the song as well, so it helps.
Yeah. And with the death of Dad and the death of the cops, you know, there's just no escape for the surviving teens. And Otis decides that his Halloween costume this year is going to be old Saving Private Ryan.
Right.
Because he decides to skin...
Who's your daddy?
skin the dad and then come down and try and kiss his daughter.
And I'm the one who loves you when you're fucking there.
But they've also come across the idea, because it's, you know, we've gone from Halloween Eve to Halloween night, that they now have to go
dress
through
them
the
up
ending.
as bunnies.
Yeah, they've got
and
to
they're
dress
taking them outside for this ritualistic burial.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, you got this audio recording playing in the background, and it's actually a recording of Aleister Crowley.
Jerry, wake up, wake up, wake up.
I think it's saying, bury me in an unmarked grave.
Right,
But it's
okay.
so distorted and slowed
Yeah.
down. It's just eerie because you've got the music going, you've got them screaming. I was like, it's just a nice little extra layer. But one of the girls manages to escape and start running.
Yeah, Denise makes it. Well, no, I think it's actually Mary. Mary makes it away, and as she's running, Baby chases her down, and then you've just got the Run Rabbit sequence from Otis. Run Rabbit, Run Rabbit. It's just like, whoa, you know, all this imagery that Rob Zombie is throwing at you just pushes the movie to freaking 11.
I mean, it's not just a Rob Zombie score. It's obviously there's extra music layered in throughout the film as well. But it's that chorus, kind of choiry, kind of warble noise that gets made in there, and it's just like, it just heightens it. I don't know whether it's like hitting a certain decibel, but it just goes, this is bad.
Yeah,
this is really awful.
Yeah. And Baby gets hold of Mary and just stabs the crap out of her.
Yeah.
You know, obviously the blood, I think, is a little bit too much now. But at the same time, I think it's fun for what the film is trying to pay homage to. You know, it's an over-the-top horror movie, so let's just splash gore in Sherry Moon Zombie's face while she laughs maniacally with a knife. And Denise and Jerry are lowered down into the field, the basement of this field.
The basement of 1,000 corpses.
Yeah, the basement of 1,000 corpses.
That's where all the corpses are. They're in the basement.
This whole series, we were discussing this, weren't we, before we turned the camera on? You don't really like the ending that leads on from this one, but this whole sequence I'm not entirely a big fan of.
I actually like this bit. I like the Dr. Satan reveal. I like the corridor of corpses, and I like that she wanders into a room and there's these patients. She's kind of sat there, Dr. Satan's patients that he's experimenting on, just like moseying around.
I kind of like it, but it just seems so surreal and over the top.
Yeah,
like
no,
you said,
it's because of all of the ghouls.
Yeah.
At the bottom of this well that kind of emerge out of the mud, destroy the coffin.
Yeah.
They tear off the bunny suits.
Yep.
And then they just submerge into
And
the
then
mud.
they
And I'm
just
like, well,
disappear.
what are they then? Like, they
Yeah.
can't be living in the mud.
What I mean, are they part of Dr. Satan's kind of medical experiments? Are they
guess
more
so.
are they more of Otis's things? I'm assuming they're people that they've captured over time. But like you said, all of a sudden Jerry's been captured and dragged away. Then we're following Denise wandering through these tunnels until she comes across Dr. Satan, and Jerry's already been captured and he's being experimented on. I have no idea what the fuck Dr. Satan says.
No.
He garbles some kind of thing. And supposedly the giant monstrosity that comes down the stairs is supposed to be Mama Firefly's ex-husband.
That's right, yes, yeah.
You know, the father of some of the children, I suppose.
Yep.
And he goes on like a weird House of the Dead kind of boss mode towards Denise, you know, to chase her out in the basement.
That's because the actor said he was completely blind in that suit,
Yeah.
couldn't see a thing, and that's not a prop act. That was a real act.
Yes.
And that's not a stunt actress. That's the
No,
real actress.
no.
And so she literally had to dive out of the way, otherwise she was getting cut in two with an axe. And
Yeah.
Rob Zombie was like, we filmed it. We all knew it was a real axe, not a prop one, and we just figured she'd get out of the way. It's like, Jesus.
I read that. I was like, that could have gone so badly, Rob.
Don't make them like they used to, do they?
But she manages to bring the roof of the cave down on top of the weird boss monster thing, and climbs out, and, you know, paying homage to just old school horror movies, particularly, like I said, Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all that. She's the last survivor. She's wandering down the road trying to get away, and Captain Spalding comes driving down in his badass little car. And I mean, it is pretty funny, the fact that he pulls up past her, so she's obviously looking at the car when she gets in. So
you might think she would have seen the back seat.
No, back seat. Unless somebody was like really, really carrying really far down there.
But why was he doing that?
Because it's Otis. But then,
Did he expect to find her on the side of the road?
But then, dude, you know, Captain Spaulding picks up the girl, and as they're driving away, Otis appears and goes to stab her, but she wakes up on the table of Dr. Satan. So my question is, did she even see Captain Spaulding?
Maybe not. Maybe she never escaped, like Descent style, you know? She never got out.
Exactly, yeah, man. That's what I was thinking. Because, like you said, it just seems a bit silly that she looks at the back seat, she doesn't see Otis, then he appears.
And why would Otis be hiding?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay, so it was just a dream escape. You know what? Now I like the ending a little bit better. Now I have that theory in my head. It works.
Yeah.
Yeah, what were your favourite scenes?
Oh man, I mean, it's House of a Thousand Corpses. I think the opening sequence with Captain Spaulding taking out those two robbers, you know, his quotes, you know, fuck your mama, fuck your sister, and especially fuck you. It just kicks in this movie, and then the music starts, and you're already at like gear 3 or 4, and you didn't even realise.
Yeah.
The table sequence, I do love a good Resident Evil Texas Chainsaw Massacre rip-off table sequence where you've got all your victims sat around them, and you've got all the killers sitting there laughing, enjoying their meal, and you just know some shit's about to kick off, but you're just waiting. We're going to have dinner first. You got to say grace. You can't just start killing them off. You know, Grandpa there, crazy-ass Grandpa Hugo, baby's looking gorgeous, Mama... Firefly's looking gorgeous, tiny, and then Otis is just, oh yeah, it's great. I don't want to steal it from my friend, so I won't go too far into it, but the music sequence, I Remember You, that, that's why I kind of felt bad when Rob Zombie says this movie is just full of mistakes and flaws. It's like, no, this music sequence is just sublime, it's just perfect. It may be why the third act isn't as strong, because everything is built up in the second act, and then it's punctuated with that music sequence, and now we've got to carry on with the rest of the film, but I'll always remember you.
Yeah.
Yours.
Yeah, I mean, just to go back to it again, that is my favourite scene in the film. The entire sequence, from the police turning up all the way to that song playing, to that long 26, 30-second, you know, camera pan to the gunshot going off, is fantastic. It's the real highlight of the film for me. Yeah, I really enjoyed that part. Probably all of Sid Haig's scenes. I think if I was to choose the best character or best actor in the film, it's going to be Spalding, it's going to be Sid Haig. From the scene at the beginning to the scene when the friends turn up at his gasoline station, to the scene where he's dealing with the cops, to the scene where I'm driving down the road at the end. It's like he is fantastic. He's really good. I really liked the Dr. Satan set. I liked the corridor of corpses, and then his weird apparatus that he's got, and all the bones on the floor. I was like, this is really cool looking. I can see this being in a haunted house attraction somewhere. Yeah. And if I had to choose one more favourite scene, it would probably be the pussy liquor sequence. I mean, that's one hell of a moon.
Yes. Yes.
I love the dialogue in here where she's just like, yeah, I like to get fucked up and do fucked up things. He's like, yeah, I like to get fucked up too. She's like, I bet you do. So it's like, the interplay, the kind of whimsical like rhyme to their dialogue, their deliveries. It's so good. It's so fun.
So great.
Yeah, we like to get fucked up and do fucked up shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I like to get fucked up too.
Ian, do you recommend House of a Thousand Corpses?
I totally recommend House of a Thousand Corpses. I think it's a great horror movie, and I think as well, you know, this is why I do get upset and offended when I watch bad horror movies that people say are great. You know, Rob Zombie had so many ideas leading up to him writing House of a Thousand Corpses. He'd been working on music videos. He'd been watching so many different films. He then worked on the script. He then got in a bunch of, you know, not AAA actors, but people who actually were able to bring a lot of these characters to life. They were able to give us background and backstory without even actually trying, because they believed who they were and just made these characters real. That's what makes a good horror movie. You know, some people won't watch this movie because they're too afraid that it might be full of torture porn or stupid moments and things like that. No, like Gary has said while we've been reviewing, and like I've said it too, it pays homage to so many different movies, and then it tries its own new ideas that you can actually sit there at the end of this movie and go, wow, for an hour and a half, that was a fucking hell of a ride. You know, you don't have to jump immediately into the sequels if you don't want to, because he didn't know he was going to make one. He didn't know that this one was going to be a success. Fuck it.
Didn't even know it was going to get released.
That's it. He didn't even think it was going to be released. And then when it did, it just hit that underground market so well. It just shot up into stratosphere. Gave him so many other different chances to make different other movies. Good or bad, say what you want, like what you do. But man, House of a Thousand Corpses. Oh yeah, and Sherry Moon Zombie's hot as fuck.
I'm definitely recommending House of a Thousand Corpses. This was packed with style, great visuals, and very memorable characters, despite all the flaws. I've always enjoyed this film. It really does feel like a late-night MTV exploitation grindhouse snuff music video that's extremely experimental, with strange edits and use of lighting and cutaways. It really is style over substance. But it probably helps if you like director Rob Zombie's music and style going into this film. And it may seem amateur, but it's bursting with energy, sleaze, and gore. The acting at times also feels amateur, but Sid Haig, Sherry Moon Zombie, and Bill Moseley really shine in their roles. Fully realizing their characters, they embody the deranged psycho killers with such personality and authenticity, you'll be engaged and disturbed. But they truly stood out over the wacky characters such as Grandpa and Dr. Satan. The script was okay, you know, some great and memorable lines though, and it's also packed with enough profanity to make Quentin Tarantino blush. I also think this film is well paced. It never really slows down. It's certainly never boring, and it's certain to please many horror fans, and I also never get tired of watching, even if it's a House of a Thousand Flaws. For me, this is very, very rewatchable. It's entertaining, trippy, gory, and wild as hell. So for me personally, this is more than worth a watch. The most shocking tale of carnage ever seen. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Hope you like what you see!